Channel welcomes you to Atlanta Motor Speedway, where much of the talk, if not the focus, has been on the NASCAR inspection area and the repercussions, because what happened in Las Vegas didn't stay in Vegas. In post-qualifying inspection, Todd Berrier, crew chief for Kevin Harvick, was found to have made an illegal fuel cell modification. There wasn't 22 gallons in that tank. And in post-race inspection, Kyle Busch's car's rear quarter panel heights too high. Race winner Jimmy Johnson's quarter panel heights too low. On Tuesday, the fines were handed down. Todd Berrier has begun to serve his suspension, though he has appealed. Chad Knaus and Alan Gustafson have also appealed their fines and suspensions. They are here pending appeal. Harold Holley, unapproved deck lid. Larry Carter, undated seat belts. And Morgan Shepherd's crew chief for a fire bottle violation. Here's the effect there on the bottom line. Jimmy Johnson's point standing position drops from first to second. Harvick from 8th to 10th. And Kyle Busch loses 4 spots with the 25-point drop. For more on this story, we join Jeff Hammond.
Right now with Kevin Harvick, and Kevin doesn't have his crew chief Todd Berrier. They decided to kind of like get a jump on that suspension thing from NASCAR, because they did get a chance to come here and test with this race car. Right now, Scott Miller's kind of calling the shots today. How things so far?
Everything's gone good with this GM Goodwin Chevrolet. We spent a day down here testing, and it was close when we unloaded, so that makes it a lot easier when you can get a head start. So making a couple adjustments and just go from there.
Have you guys had to call back up, and have you talked to Todd today about anything?
Well, if you've ever been treated like, if you remember how you were treated when you were a 15-year-old child, I think that's kind of how the whole situation has gone with the penalties and everything with NASCAR. But Todd's not here, and I think they'll probably monitor us more than they monitor anything else in the racetrack. So we'll just do what we can do with Scott and all the guys here, and it'll be a good weekend.
Well, he's looking for a rebounding weekend for sure, and for more on what's going on down in Hendricott, down to Matt.
Now, Jeff, Mike did mention that Alan Gustafson and Chad Knaus are both here waiting to hear their appeal on Tuesday. Chad, your thoughts about what's taken place with the post-race inspection infraction and also your appeal?
Well, obviously, you know, we're going to go through and try to let NASCAR understand our point of view. It was a mechanical issue that we had with the car. It wasn't anything that was blatant or, you know, trying to get an advantage with the car. It actually hurt our race car quite a bit. We ended up dropping the back of the race car about 3/4 of an inch, and if anybody's been watching, they know that NASCAR's been cutting spoiler off the car, and that's essentially what we did. And it really hurt our race car last week, but we were pretty fortunate to have Jimmy Johnson in the driver's seat. He was able to pull off the victory for us. This weekend, all we're doing is focusing and trying to win this race.
Do you like your chances for the appeal?
You never know. You never know. It's going to be in front of the commission. We'll just have to see if we're able to get it, and you know, they're pretty fair, so we'll see what comes up.
Get back to work. The window net's up on Jimmy Johnson Chevrolet. They were 3rd quick in the first practice session today. Mike Joy doing all race runs. Jimmy told me the car felt comfortable anywhere he wanted to put it on the racetrack.
Thanks, Matt, and hi, everybody. Alongside Larry McReynolds and Darrell Waltrip.
He sees black helicopters, I think. I can see the look on his face.
Those stayed in Vegas. Now, let's talk a little bit about the appeals process before we get to the racetrack. George Silberman, a NASCAR employee, heads up the appeals process. He is joined by 2 rotating members from the commission, many of whom are short track promoters and all have a deep background in the sport. This week, Busch Series crew chief Todd Losey did win his appeal. It was to do with the roof flaps and blocking the vent, and Losey's argument basically was that they had to run these roof flaps, but they never received any instruction on how they needed to work, should work, and what the importance was of keeping those vents open, and that they were not intentionally trying to gain any advantage. So he won his appeal, and his fine and suspension reduced accordingly. Now, what do we think the chances are of these 3 teams succeeding on Tuesday?
I'm not sure about Todd Berrier. I think because what really burnt Todd Berrier, crew chief for Kevin Harvick, was it was obvious. It was intended on the filler hose being full of fuel where they could run low fuel for qualifying. So I don't know that there's a lot of chances for that appeal being overturned. But I will say that Chad Knaus and Alan Gustafson may be the suspension, and I think they're not appealing the penalty. They're appealing the severity of the penalty, and I think it's the suspension. I talked to George Pine with NASCAR the other night, and I questioned why the suspension, and I think the reason they're doing the suspension, Mike and Darrell, is the fact that they give these guys guys a tolerance on these heights after the event. It's a 1/4 inch, and they were beyond the tolerance.
So, Darrell, does intent play a lot into the severity of the penalty, the appropriate severity?
In my view, it would. I mean, if you're trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes and you're obviously trying to cheat, then you need to be punished. If you have an issue after the race, and Larry knows just like I do, these cars go through an incredible amount of changes during a race, some in the pits. And here's the other thing. There are 2 inspectors in every pit. If that car was let down any number of rounds, they document every change that's made on those cars, the NASCAR guys do during the race. So, I mean, if it's a mechanical failure, yeah, well, you gotta take that into consideration. But you don't suspend a guy, for Pete's sake. I mean, and look at Chad's fine is $35,000 for something he had nothing to do with, no control over. He's not Houdini. And the other guy, we know he intended to cheat, and his fine was $25,000.
Plus, we know those points. We don't know now. We don't even can put a dollar value on 25 points. You go back to last year, Jamie McMurray missed the chase by 15 points.
But NASCAR has decided that fines do not get these teams attention. And there was even scuttle this week. There was one car owner who said that any one of my drivers would give up $25,000 and 25 points to get a win right now. But, Darrell, a lot of people on the internet liked your comment, kind of like Formula One. You want to qualify with 4 gallons? Fine. Start the race with 4 gallons.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of adding insult to injury, if you will. They got caught cheating. That's how you want to run the car. Well, go ahead. We'll let you run it that way. You run it that way all day, as a matter of fact. But the fines are not where they need to be, in my opinion. The only way you're going to get these guys' attention is when those fines get up into the 6 figures. When you start talking about $100,000, $200,000, I believe then you'll get their attention.
You know, I disagree to a point, because when you're trying to satisfy a $13 to $15 million sponsor, what's $500,000 in fines and you can get a win?
Well, yeah, so my point exactly.
Vacation.
What's $25,000?
Points and vacation.
Well, I don't like that either. And what I really don't like is I don't like calling my guys cheaters. You know, if you get caught doing something, yeah, that's cheating. But when something happens after a 400-mile race and your car doesn't go through the rigmarole over there in the little room of doom, I hate calling my guys cheaters.
Agreed.
You know, we've got a very unique final practice session here. This is race number 4 of 2005, but this is the second impound race. But this is going to be quite different from the first impound race at Fontana, California. These guys came in here this morning like normal on Friday morning, unloaded, went through inspection. They had one practice session about an hour and a half ago for an hour. This is the final practice session. They will qualify tonight. NASCAR will impound these race cars. The garage is actually closed tomorrow. Tomorrow's strictly dedicated to the Busch Series qualifying and race.
Larry, golly, I guess I'm old school. I just don't get it. What are we going to do? The weather is all over the place here this weekend. It's cold, it's cloudy, it's overcast. It's going to rain. You know, it's supposed to be a little rain in the area. I mean, weather affects these cars more than anything. Engine tuning, handling, and everything else. And you're not even going to see the racetrack till the race starts on Sunday.
It's going to be interesting, and I like the fact that some of these Nextel Cup guys will be running that Busch Series race. In fact, Chad Knaus, Jimmy Johnson, they're going to be fielding a Busch car. You see right there, we'll keep up this, and if you tune in tonight for qualifying, we'll pay close attention to how this changes. 48 degrees ambient temperature.
Yeah, we're going to qualify tonight. When are we going to race?
Sunday.
Afternoon.
Get the day off.
In full sun, let's hope.
Okay.
Black helicopters. Tonight on Speed, Nextel Cup qualifying, as we mentioned, airs at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Be there. Immediately followed, I think, by the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race, immediately, or 9 p.m. Busch Series qualifying is also on Speed tomorrow at noon Eastern, and the Aaron's 312 at 2:30, not immediately following. Sunday, NASCAR this morning, right here on Speed, and the Golden Corral 300 presented by M3 Power, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. NASCAR Victory Lane wraps it all up Sunday night at 8. Speed Channel coverage of Nextel Cup final practice from Atlanta is brought to you by Nextel, helping NASCAR groups get things done. NASCAR and Nextel, partners in speed. And by new high-endurance oils from Mobil, official lubricants of NASCAR. Stewart last week probably passed more cars than anybody on the racetrack at Las Vegas. One estimate was that he passed 80 cars in a coming and going day when his car was really good. Got its aero all messed up, wasn't too bad, and still ended up pretty decent.
Did you know that he's been in the top 10 in points for 48 consecutive races dating back to 2002 of September?
I think that's the longest active
That's
streak.
the longest.
Matt Kenseth had it until he had trouble at Daytona and fell out, but that's
pretty impressive.
Yes, it is.
Very consistent.
You know, I would look for Tony to have a good run here this weekend. Joe Gibbs' cars, it just seems like they've always ran well at Atlanta. He's finished in the top 10 here the last 7 races, and he was actually 4th quickest in the first practice today.
Well, it's funny you should say that because he's finished in the top 10 the last 7 races here, 4 top 5s and 1 victory.
And his teammate Bobby Labonte has won 6 times here. 1 was a gift. Who was it? Jerry Nadeau ran out of gas on the last lap.
A win is a win is a win.
But that's right. They count. You got to be in position to win. Jeff Hammond has either a breaking story or a broken story. Which is it?
Mike, it's really a broken story. Earlier today, Mike Wallace in the first practice session was 13th quickest, but they broke a valve spring on this number 4 Chevrolet. Had to come in and having to change engines. Steve Gray, the whole team, talked to Larry McClure, the owner, and he was very optimistic they're going to be able to get this car warmed up and back out for this final practice and be in good shape for tonight's qualifying run. But as you know, Larry McReynolds, when you lose an engine, a lot of things start happening besides changing that engine.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, they're losing track time. This is the final practice. Now, they look like they're pretty close. They have about 45 minutes to get this car out there. But remember, we have 15 teams here. We have 50 cars, so we have 15 teams. They have to get in on speed. Mike Wallace, pretty quick in the first practice, like Jeff said, he's one of those cars.
You know, I was reading where Tony Santana Cola said that a valve spring, one valve spring in these engines costs $85. Now, there's 16 of them in there. So you're talking about in the course of a year probably $250,000 in valve springs alone.
And they kick them after 1 week, right?
Yeah, they're only good for 1 race.
Wow. Dale Jr., an early exit at Atlanta, ran lap 12. He ran into the back of Brian Vickers, taking both of them and Bobby Labonte out of the race and Ricky Rudd out of contention. Las Vegas, not one of Junior's best tracks, and hopefully he can rebound here.
Well, looking at the timing and scoring, he's back there in 31st place right now. Of course, I'm sure he's probably working on race runs, but not very far up on the list.
No, the first practice he was 42nd out of 50.
Remember, he's the defending champion in this race, but he does not have the car he won with, because remember, we've been talking about the team swap. That's actually the car that his teammate Michael Waltrip, the 15, will be running here.
Well, he's no better off. Michael's 34th fastest.
Let's give a listen and just ride a lap or so with it.
Sure, he can't get back to the throttle all the way. To be faster, you got to go down there, burp it, and then mat it right away.
Darrell, I get the feeling that he's on a race practice run here. He just completed 9 laps, and just to give you a sensation of the give up in tires here, fast lap was 30.55. His last lap was 31.08, half a second give up.
Yeah, he just got a little loose down to 1 and 2, and he thinks he'll come in and tune on that bad boy.
Junior is one driver who's hoping what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Hard wreck.
Final practice from Atlanta continues after this. There they are, getting ready for tonight's race under the lights here in Atlanta, 9 p.m. Eastern Time for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
And they will be fast under the lights.
The tailgaters are looking for a little fun tonight.
see Mark Martin right here in the 6 car right now. He's on a long race run. He just completed 18 laps, but he is the quickest in this practice. Had a rough week last weekend at Las Vegas. Finished 30th, had engine woes. He was running at the end. I talked to Pat Tryson this morning. I said, okay, buddy, what'd you find with that engine? He said, I'll guarantee you've never heard this one. I said, try me. I've heard a lot of them. The vent tube in the carburetor fell out and went down through the engine and broke the head off of a valve, but the head of the valve stuck in the cylinder head, and that's the reason they were able to run the rest of the race on 7 cylinders without any more damage.
And I find that hard to believe, Larry. I do believe it, but most of the teams these days wire those vent tubes into the carburetor so they won't fall out, because we all have had that happen at one time or another. Matter of fact, I've seen them fall out and stick the throttle wide open.
Yeah.
So that surprises me.
Well, between that and the lug nut that bounced off the ground back up on the stud, I'm going to start believing in black helicopters.
It's Vegas.
And Mark Martin is the fastest during this session, just turning in 20 laps, getting a clean cut so they can get a good spark plug check. Meanwhile, Tony Stewart, who was 4th quick in the first session, is currently 14th. Now jumped down to 15th fastest. He was fighting a tight condition in the first session today, and they are still battling a tight condition. They started out with a list of changes for this final practice session. Just came in, gone back out. There are a few more changes, just trying to work some of that tightness out, Jeff.
Well, Matt, you can see I'm standing outside the garage area. You can look behind me. You see all the nice numbers, the garage stalls, all the teams that are working on their car very diligently. But those guys are on the inside. We have a few of these teams that are on the outside looking to get in. If you look over behind me, you see guys like Shane Meal, Robbie Gordon, Jason Leffler, Stanton Barrett. All of these teams are having to qualify their way into the race actually outside of the garage because there's no room for them in the current garage configuration. One of the teams running extremely well, Shane Meal. He's had a really good practice time so far. We're going to slide in here and see if we can get a win with him because he's looking like he's going to be able to race his way in this weekend. Shane, how's your car so far, buddy? You're looking pretty fast.
Yeah, we've done tested with the Winfield Chevrolet, and it's pretty fast. You know, we have a qualifying run. This is all race stuff, so we'll make one more change and then come and tape it up and see what we can run.
There you go right now. Pretty missed. He's got his car. He can get in this race with guys. And like I said, he's one of the teams that's on the outside looking in, trying to get there.
Yeah, literally. Garage stalls are assigned per the car owner and champion the first stall, and then first place down. And there's enough stalls.
The good news, if they qualify for the race tonight after qualifying, they'll get to move into a garage stall. The bad news is that you're impounding the car, so you can't work on it.
Matt Kenseth may be trying to hide this week. He's got another new paint job on that car.
Good looking. I like it.
They go around this 1.5 miles at upwards of 188 miles an hour. Mark Martin quickest so far in this final practice. Carl Edwards, his teammate, Casey Mears, Brian Vickers, Ryan Newman. You look at Kyle Busch, who is in the top 20.
I've heard a lot of guys complaining about their cars won't turn, that they're pushing. And what some of the guys have done, what most all the guys have done, because of the reduction in the rear spoiler, they've gone to the front of the car and gotten rid of some of the front downforce, trying to balance the car back out. And in doing so, they've lost a lot of front grip. And I think that's one of the things that all these guys are fighting right now is how to make the car turn mechanically and not so much with aero.
I mean, the last thing you want to do is give up grip in one end, but if you cannot get it balanced out, which with that shorter rear spoiler, it's been a challenge. But there, I think the biggest challenge, I talked to a lot of crew chiefs this morning, and they said this is probably the worst place in the world you could come to try to qualify your race setup or race your qualifying setup. You know, we would always do big old front springs to drive this thing down in the corner running 190 plus miles per hour, but you wouldn't race it. And the other thing, and one of the crew chiefs pointed out to me that they're not happy about and dread, and of course it's the same for everyone, is that front valence that we talk about so much, the part that seals off to the racetrack. When you qualify, you travel a lot more and it drags more of it off. Normally, if you were working on the car before the race, you'd put a new one on there, but of course you can't because of the impound. There it is right there. You see that? You try to have that 3.5 inches off the ground, and the more you travel, the more that it scrapes that off.
And it's amazing when these cars go out of the pits like that, down pit road, how high they are off the ground, and then how low. I mean, they're touching in the turns. That's how much they travel, how much they sink. looks like he's trying to fly, but wait till it gets over in the corner. Look at that front end drop down.
That's Jason Leffler. He is 34th on the board, and he has to qualify on time as well.
It doesn't just drop down. The shocks suck it down. I mean, when that thing gets to the corner, the rebound and the shocks take over, and it'll just pull the front end right down to the race. See that?
And that's the challenge that a team like Jason Leffler has. They have to qualify, like you said, Mike, but they want to have their car in good enough shape to run good in the race. But their first race is tonight, make it in the show.
Well, that's a big balancing act. One fellow who's solidly in the show and pretty solidly at the top of the speed chart is with Matt.
Mike, owner Jack Roush just finished taking a look at the spark plugs on Mark Martin's Ford. The dominant car here last fall, Mark. Is your car, do you feel like, going into this weekend after the 2 sessions we've had so far, as good as it was last fall?
I think so. The car's awesome. You know, you never know what the competition's up to, but I really love the Viagra Taurus here, and I wish we were racing today.
How much of a guessing game will it be for Sunday, knowing that the temperature's probably going to be about 20 to 25 degrees warmer on Sunday?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know it was going to be that much warmer. I looked at the Weather Channel, and it didn't tell me that. So if it's going to be that much warmer, I'm in trouble.
AccuWeather.com mentioned 66 and partly cloudy on Sunday. We'll have to wait and see. But Larry Mack, as a crew chief, you know, that's a big change in temperature.
Yeah, but like Darrell said, there's not a thing you can do about it. I mean, you're at the mercy of the way the rules and the schedule structure.
All you can do about it right now is think that way and make your car adjustable, whatever the rules will allow. Spring rubbers, shock adjustments, wedge adjustments, whatever minor tweaks you can make. That's about all you got going for you.
Watching Kurt Busch, 2 of his Roush teammates atop the chart. He is 15th. Hey, did you see who was on the Weather Channel yesterday morning?
And I'm mad.
Why are you mad?
Because I want to go on the Weather Channel. I love the Weather Channel.
Yeah, but your forecaster's so far off, Larry, that I think that you'd make a good weatherman.
I think a good weatherman in Florida, 50% chance of rain.
No, there's a chance of rain every day, Larry. That's what you got to know.
He talked about how weather affects racing and race cars. I didn't get to see it. I was taking the kids to school.
I saw it.
Did he mention vortex theory?
No.
Oh, put Larry on there.
Not that I'm aware of.
I'll mention the vortex theory.
See, that's one of those things that's way out there, and some guys don't believe in it.
Like Jim Cantori? Here's Jeff.
Down here right now with Elliott Sadler, and my friend, it looks to me like you guys are changing a couple of combinations with your race car right now. Run 22 laps first time out.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it on long run, Jeff, but just want to do some stuff to the front end and save the left front tire as much as we can. We know it's a very volatile part here in Atlanta, but the combo's fluid's good. Not real fast for 5 or 6 laps, but good on the long run. And this race is known to get stretched out a lot of green flag stops. So actually right now I'm pretty happy to call. It's a brand new car. The guys did a good job on it. And right now I think we got a top 10 car. Try to massage on a little bit so we can get it making a top 5 car.
Okay, we got 2 things going on. Number one, let's talk a little bit about last week. I mean, you got caught up in a wreck, got down, and then fought your way back. And I mean, tell us a little bit how it kind of went last week.
Very frustrating week. You know, we got caught up in a wreck. We finally got a lap back. I think I was up back to 6th or 7th place, and just got a right rear tire on it. It didn't really go with the rest of the set of tires that we had, and made it so loose that it was way over my level of talent and driving ability to drive a car that loose, and fell back and finished 29th. A very frustrating week. We feel like we lost our 100 points. At that now, we'd be 3rd or 4th in the points right now. So we had to come into Atlanta, see if we can make some of that up. It's an impound race, and we really like impound races. I'm a big fan of it because you get to work on your race setup a bunch. And I think we'll be. I really like this track. We'll be good here last fall, and hopefully we'll be good here on Sunday.
Well, the other part of that question was going to be, Darrell Waltrip says, would you ask him to remove his hat? He wants to check out your hairdo. That's scary.
He wants to check my hairdo out? I'm okay today. I'm all right. I think DW needs one of these, a little soul patch, because he's got plenty of soul, plenty of rhythm. I think this will help him out a little bit.
No, I'm a young gun. I can't do that.
I'm going to commercial on that.
Yeah, you know, that young gun that make my day pump.
Yeah. Throw a soul patch. I'll get on the Weather Channel.
Monday through Thursday evening, Speed Channel presents a NASCAR show for the NASCAR masses. It's NASCAR Nation. News and your all-access pass to the hottest sport in the country. Join Ralph, Krista, and the whole gang Thursdays, Monday through Thursday at 7. Only on Speed.
Pretty good little show. Kind of enjoy watching it. They got a lot of good stuff going on.
You know what's pretty impressive? We talked to Mark Martin, and not only is he fastest, this is what we've been looking at in final practice, getting ready to race. He's the fastest over 15 lap, the 15-lap average. Carl Edwards, you see right there, he's second quickest on the speed chart. He has the third quickest 15-lap average. This is what crew chiefs and these teams are looking at because, as you heard Elliott Sadler say, his car's not fast, but it feels good on that long run. That's what you have to have here.
Here's a look at Edwards. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series graduate.
He had a great run here in the fall race. Finished third, and this is actually the same chassis, and they came down here and tested as well for 2 days, his crew chief was telling me.
And 5th in points as I guess we call him a virtual rookie. He's not eligible for Rookie of the Year, but it's his first full season.
He doesn't have a lot of experience in racing, period. He's doing an incredible job. I mean, second in the Busch standings, point standings. Here he is 5th in the Cup. And I think he'll win a race or two.
If you notice the big lime green dots on the windshield, what that is, we talk a lot about them during the race, is they already have the windshield tear-offs. Remember, after qualifying tonight, these teams can't work on the car, and they have about 4 or 5 of those tear-offs, and they'll actually number those. Those are like tabs to pull those tear-offs, and that's the reason they're already on there here in Friday's practice.
Wonder if it's a leftover from St. Patrick's Day, the green car.
Well, if it isn't, it should be.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Little leprechauns working on it.
We'll get you some green coffee to go with that.
Not good. Boy, here's a guy that these guys, they're going to get going here. They are falling way behind. They haven't had any good luck at all. Daytona was disastrous. Vegas wasn't any better.
25th on the speed chart, Casey Kane.
And they had some serious inspection issues with this car this morning in the tail area. It's like the tail was just a little too wide. He was rim riding there off turn.
It was almost a little too narrow then because he about slapped it against the fence.
But it's been a good track for him. He finished 3rd and 5th here in the 2 races last year.
And he was one of the cars, one of the teams, along with Jimmy Johnson and the 48 team that came here a few months ago and did the tire test for Goodyear. Since they're developing new tires for everywhere, they have to have a couple of teams go help them develop that tire.
Just watching that car, one thing I don't like, I'm just watching the nose. Looks like he's trying to lift the left front up awful high coming off the corner.
Let's check in with another of the Dodge drivers. Here's Jeff.
Down here with Travis Kvapil, and then last week at Las Vegas, he had one of the best cars during the course of the race, but right toward the end, it kind of came unraveled. But coming to Atlanta, 9th quickest on the board during his final practice.
Yeah, so far the Kodak guys have done a really good job. We tested here a couple weeks ago, and we just had a great test, and I'm looking forward to Sunday's race. Car's been really running good, really comfortable. We're just trying a few things, just see if we can make it a little better. Race runs, we're pretty happy with it, so we'll see what we got. I think we're top 15 cars. Hopefully we can qualify up there and stay up there all day and finish the deal this week.
Now, you were telling me this is a brand new car, but how about the adjustment so far? Has it been a big learning curve?
It has. It seemed like halfway through the California race, it just started all clicking for me. Felt comfortable the last half of that race. We tested here a couple weeks ago, felt good. We raced Las Vegas, felt good. So far here, it's feeling really good too. So it's a bit of an adjustment from the Truck Series for sure, but I'm starting to. It just takes a little time, and all these laps are helping me out, and I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Feeling pretty good about it, DW. You know how that is.
Yeah, I do, Jeff, and I really like Travis. Travis, if you watched him in the Truck Series at all, he's one of those guys that kind of run mid-pack. You didn't hear a whole lot about him until the very end of the race. And all of a sudden you say, Travis Kvapil in the top 5.
Kind of like a guy named DW.
Yeah, or
like an 80s.
Or a Matt Kenseth, you know, kind of got that David Pearson driving style.
Bud Pole qualifying tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Trouble in turn number 2 as the 92 goes around, and that's not all.
There must be maybe some fluid over there. based on that. I think if you look right here, you may say, yeah, there's a little fluid over there, DW.
Jamie McMurray recovering, and I'm told Ken Schrader went around as well.
Daryl, you know,
there he
that
is.
you see Ken Schrader here, that did not look like oil coming out of Stanton Barrett's car. It almost looked like water, like maybe a water hose came off or something like that.
I don't know what it was, but it's slick.
Schrader's got a left rear. That's a bad looking car.
That is. I like that paint
that.
job and that big ram right there in the middle.
Didn't he drive Red Baron for Junie Donlevy?
Oh,
Red
yeah.
Baron Pizza when he won Rookie of the Year.
Red Baron's a part of Swans, and it's all in the family. Yeah. And you know, Schrader, he gets all in the family.
Don't appear that he has any damage on his car other than a flat left rear. That's the reason he's moving so slow. You don't want to tear that quarter panel off the car or that tire coming apart.
I like hot red. That's what you call that red on there.
Look, he has 2 flat rear tires.
Looking. Yeah, there's definitely fluid coming out of that car. Yeah, it's got that. You're right, Larry. It's kind of got that water look to it.
Almost looks like steam coming out.
Steam, yeah. And as you can see, he's driving it back.
Well, good to be able to keep it off the wall, but that'll put us under caution here for a bit.
I would say if it would have been oil, he would not have been able to drive it back.
So. It would have been a slippery slope. Here's Matt.
Crew Chief Robbie Reiser working on the front valence of Matt Kenseth's Ford. How's the car, Matty?
It's okay. It's a new car. We've been working on a few bugs we got vibration we're trying to get rid of and a couple other little things. But overall, we finally got to run pretty good that last run. Probably won't have time to practice qualifying, but in the race, trim, it seems pretty decent.
Now you're going to attempt to pull double duty running Saturday's Busch race and Sunday's Cup race. How big of an advantage due to the process this week and as far as the format goes, do you think running both races will be helping you out for Sunday?
Really, I don't think it'll be much advantage at all. I mean, the rules are fairly different now with the spoiler sizes and with the impound procedure over here, we can't work on the car after we do our practice and racing over there anyway. Our car's already locked up for Sunday, so I don't think it'll be a big advantage, but it sure is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to race at this racetrack, and both cars are fun to drive, so whenever we get a chance to do some racing, we try to do it for have some fun.
28th in points. Good track for this team to really make a big jump in the championship standings?
I hope so. I mean, we just need to do good every week. We had kind of a slow start to the year. We got a decent finish last week, but still didn't get quite what we were looking for. So hopefully we can keep it rolling here and get a good finish and get back up in the points.
And he is 18th fastest during this practice session, Mike.
We were talking about Jason Leffler's car, and this is what his crew chief, Robbie Reiser, is doing right now. He was lowering that valence back down. Evidently, they have scrubbed more of it off than he would have liked to, so he's adjusted it back down, and now he's just sealing it back up the edge there with duct tape.
So they'll clean up turn 2, and then final practice for the next Cell Cup cars will continue. Correct a little time error we had earlier. Tonight, Nextel Cup qualifying 7 p.m. Eastern time right here on Speed, followed by the Craftsman Truck Series race at 9. Tomorrow, Busch Series qualifying on Speed at noon. The Aaron's 312 on FX at 2:30. Then Sunday, rev up your motor with NASCAR this morning on Speed, and then tune in for the Golden Corral 500 presented by M3 Power, 12:30 Eastern time on Fox. NASCAR Victory Lane wraps it all up for you back here on Speed at 8 p.m. Sunday evening. Here's Jeff.
Mike, I'm down here by the 92 car, Stanton Barrett and DW. You ever seen one of these before, my friend? It's a bottom radiator hose, and that's what happened to this 92 car. This bottom radiator hose blew off. I guarantee you right now, Stanton Barrett will tell you real quick, he's had a pretty wild ride. You okay, Stanton?
Yeah, I'm fine. That makes you a little bit nervous. USmilitary.com Chevy, that was our second time out on these tires. We're trying qualifying runs right now, and those ran a decent lap. It was comfortable, and I let off the gas going in the corner. All of a sudden, the back end starts to come around, and you go, oh my gosh, it's not me. You worry about what people are thinking, but yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking for sure. Nothing I'm not used to, I guess.
What he's talking about as far as being used to it. He is a stuntman part-time, so sliding sideways is not unusual, but hey, at 185 miles an hour to get anybody's attention.
Of course, he's trying to qualify for his very first race this year in the Nextel Cup. They missed the first 3 shows.
Well, these guys, Larry, they got their hands full right now with this 8 car. just went down into turn 1, and I don't know what happened, but boy, she took off and up the hill it went. He's lucky he didn't knock the fence down.
And you know, Darrell, you made a comment last week, I think it was in our pre-race show. Whatever is going on with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, it almost seems to be across the board, because in a small way, Martin Truex Jr., even in the Busch car, I know he won the road race at Mexico, but that's a different animal. It seems to be going on over there, and we know it's not because of a reduction of rear spoiler on the Busch car, because they had no reduction. You almost think it's something to do possibly with this tire package. They just can't get their arms around something.
I get the sense, talking to Martin, listening to Martin, talking to Michael and so forth, that they feel like they're behind and they don't have anything in place to get caught up. That seems to me to be the problem that they have. They feel behind a little on aero, they feel a little bit behind on engine, and they feel a little bit behind on chassis. And as you know, Larry, we're not talking about big amounts. You be 10% off in any of those areas and you're not going to run well.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at a lot of our qualifying sessions, the top 38 cars are separated by 1/2 to 3/4 of a second. That's not very much.
Well, who knows how much of it is shop and how much of it is driver acclimation to change. Now, these changes weren't that drastic, but if you remember, when NASCAR switched from bias ply tires to the radials, Dale Earnhardt was one of the last of the major stars to really achieve a degree of comfort and get back to winning ways on the radial tires. So, you know, certainly changes affect drivers as much as they affect teams.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with comfort. Just how comfortable are you in the race car with that rear blade? Just that rear blade, in my mind, if I was driving a race car right now, every time something happened to my car, I'd think it was having something to do with the rear. I don't have enough rear downforce. I'm going to spin out. Car's loose. Can't drive it.
See Travis Quaffle here in the 77 car. We talked to him. I get the feeling now, with only a few minutes to go in this practice, that now these teams are putting tape on the front end, and rather than long race runs, they're just making those 2-lap qualifying runs. See how fast they can run with their race setup. Travis right now is 9th quickest.
Now let's go to the garage where Snoopy has the Red Baron.
Mike, if you look on this rear bumper, that's how close Kenny Strader got to the wall. And Kenny, as you were telling me, what was it? Sometimes you do really good work and other times you miss by 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, sometimes I do really good work. You know, I mean, it's barely hit it. Last week I missed by about 3 feet. So we just got lucky. I guess you said someone blew a radiator hose down there. Spotter said spin in turn 1. So I did. As soon as I hit the water, and I had already backed her down a bunch, but you know, these good years are good until track gets wet.
Guys, right now he's still got a smile on his face. The Red Baron comes through one more time. And Matt, what's going on your end, bud?
Driver 8, Dale Earnhardt Jr. pulling back out. Now they were talking about some different changes to make, but they were running out of time. Jr. wanted to get back out. He says the car just way too uncomfortable, too free going into the center of the corner. Right now the DEI cars of Earnhardt Jr. and Michael Waltrip, 42nd and 43rd, while the Ford of Mark Martin continues to show the way, running 35 laps so far in his final practice session on speed.
Speed Channel coverage of Nextel Cup Happy Hour from Atlanta is brought to you by Nextel, helping NASCAR groups get things done. NASCAR and Nextel, partners in speed. And by new high-endurance oils from Mobil, official lubricants of NASCAR. One big jump on the speed chart. Jason Leffler up to 3rd as we have a look at Ricky Rudd, who's now in the top 25.
Yeah, I talked to this group this morning, and I might add that Michael Fatback McSwain been recovering from back surgery for the last 2 races. His crew chief, he's actually here. And I talked to that team, and I said, is Fatback here? They said, we absolutely had to bring him down here. We have to do something to change our luck, because these guys have been in 3 consecutive wrecks, Daytona, Fontana, Las Vegas, and neither one of them was there they're making. And he's expected, Ricky Rudd's expected to make his 55th Atlanta start here on Sunday. DW, you got 50 starts here, but he's headed on towards 60 starts.
Yeah, actually, I ties him with Bill Elliott, and I have 56 there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed one. I must have been absent. Maybe I was on suspension.
I started a little sooner than you probably remember.
Oh, okay. Now, I got my information from the book, but they keep telling me the book's always wrong.
Don't trust the book.
You know what they say, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. There's 3 different categories. Bobby Labonte, maybe the master of Atlanta, 6 victories here. Here's Jeff.
Talk about 6 victories here. At the same time, Mike, he's got 12 top 5 finishes in 24 races down here. This is a racetrack when it comes up on the schedule that Bobby Labonte and the whole entire Joe team gets excited about, because they know that when they get to Atlanta, there's a great opportunity to go to victory lane, but definitely an opportunity to kind of pick up the season. Early this season, they've had problems as far as having engine problems along with crashes, and they're really looking for this weekend to kind of like be a breakout weekend to get them guys back on track, get them to victory lane, and get some momentum headed in the rest of the season.
And they could use that because, you know, 2 of the Gibbs cars right now outside of the top 35 window for who gets exempted from having to qualify in the race.
Yeah, I listen to Bobby Labonte, and you know, sometimes you don't feel too badly about where you are if you can rationalize why you're where you are. Bad luck, broken parts, whatever. And that's really where that team is. They just had some really bad luck. Daytona blow up and got wrecked last week. They feel like that they've got a good race team. We know they do. This is his favorite racetrack. Should be a breakout week.
Jeff Gordon, speaking of rebounding, 30th at California, 4th last week at Las Vegas.
He leads, he has the most laps led here, Jeff Gordon does. 975 laps led.
Kevin Harvick, 5th at Vegas after a 6th at California. The driver who won here in his 3rd ever Cup Series start. Welcome back to Atlanta, where tonight you'll see Nextel Cup qualifying at 7 Eastern Time and the Craftsman Truck Series race at 9. That's all here on Speed, as is Busch Series qualifying tomorrow at noon. And the Aaron's 312 Busch Series race is on FX at 2:30. Sunday here on Speed, NASCAR this morning, then the Golden Corral 500 presented by M3 Power is on Fox. NASCAR Victory Lane on Speed, 8 p.m. Sunday night to wrap up the weekend. Drawing to a close, the final hour of practice. Qualifying follows tonight, and here are the best average of 20 consecutive laps.
Right now, Carl Edwards actually went to the top of the charts as far as just the fastest lap, but look at there, the top 3 cars, best 20 lap average, all Roush cars. We've basically been seeing that all year long.
One Roush car that is conspicuously absent can be updated by Matt.
And the 97 car of Kurt Busch has just come back into the garage area after making his mock qualifying run, which jumped him up to 12th fastest on the speed charts. Now, meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr., they just adjusted the front valence, taped off the front of that race car. He now is heading out. The clock is winding down to make his qualifying attempt, his mock run, to see exactly what that race car will do. All taped up. He is 43rd fastest in this final practice session, obviously struggling here in Atlanta.
See some cars trying to get back out on the racetrack. Dale Earnhardt Jr., because time is running out, and right now he's 43rd quickest. But I would highly recommend to watch that qualifying session tonight on Speed, because the speeds really pick up here at night. I think we're going to see some cars get loose. We're going to see cars bottoming out. We're going to see all types of things tonight.
One thing I noticed on Junior's car, anticipating the race Sunday and the sun being out, look at all that tape he's got on the window there. This place is notorious for driving off into turn 1, and you cannot see anything late in the afternoon.
15 drivers tonight will have to time their way into the field. 8 will make it. The champions provisional is available, and we do have a past champion in that group, that being Bill Elliott. The fastest of those drivers are Jason Leffler, Bill Elliott, Jimmy Spencer, Shane Meal, Robbie Gordon, John Andretti, Mike Garvey, and Stanton Barrett. The drivers who need to qualify and need to pick up from their practice time are Mike Wallace, Kevin LePage, Randy LaJoy, Hermie Sadler, with Morgan Shepherd, Carl Long, and Kurt Shelmerdine. We'll find out tonight at 7 o'clock here on Speed who gets in and who goes home.
Fridays qualifying. So the worst two laps of your life, seems like sometimes.
And we'll see it all tonight at 7 p.m. here on Speed. Join us then.